Welcome to Off the Shelf. I'm your host, Yvonne Wolf, and today we have two special guests, accomplished writer Diane Christiansen and our youngest guest so far, Jackie Christiansen. Welcome.
Thank you. We're happy to be here.
Diane, you've been writing for a while, and I know you as a Hanking Hoffman PDA mom, but now you've graduated to Springman. But tell me about the inspirations to write that you have.
Well, I started writing when I became a stay-at-home mom, and I'd always wanted to write books, but I didn't know that I could actually write books because for a long time I couldn't read. I grew up with a learning disability called dyslexia. And so when I decided to stay at home, I thought, well, now's the time I really want to try to write books. And so that's when I began my actual journey with writing.
And you say you didn't really enjoy reading until later,
No,
right?
I didn't. I couldn't read in school. It was really a struggle to keep up with the other kids, and so I didn't really enjoy the books that kids enjoy in school. And it really wasn't until I was out of college and a little bit older that I started reading for the first time just for fun. And that just opened up a whole new world for me. So,
tell us a little bit also about how not being able to read well was actually help you to have a great imagination.
It did. In fact, when I was in second grade, my mother had a conference with my teacher, and my mom came in and the teacher said, oh, Diane is going to be a writer someday. And my mom was thrilled. She's like, oh, that's so great. And the teacher said, well, it's because she can't read, but she makes up these amazing stories to go along with the pictures because she can't read the words. And so that was the beginning of the journey with dyslexia, but I continued over the years to have to make up stories and be very creative. And those stories stayed with me, but I really didn't try to write until there were computers and spell check, and that was really what launched me into the field.
I guess an adaptive tool in some way.
It
right?
really is.
And
it really is.
Has it helped you to be a better reader too, because you
Yeah.
can manipulate text better?
Well,
or?
I can. I mean, there's all different ways you can manipulate text, especially on electronic devices. But for me, I think what it was, when I was out of school, reading a book, it was just for myself. So if I had to take a long time to read a book, or if I had to read a book several times to really absorb the information, I could do that because it was my own time. And so because of that and taking the time to do that, it just opened up the whole world of, I went back and I read all the classics that I had never read. Mm-hmm. And I took my time reading them and I had to read them several times because with dyslexia, you don't absorb the information you read right away. And it was just this whole new thing for me as a young adult, really in my mid-20s, opened up to me. And then that kind of inspired the writing inside of me, all these stories that were always there, then to come out and be able to write about those things.
Well, that's very encouraging and inspiring too, because sometimes with all the encouragement from school that our children should be reading,
Mm-hmm.
if they don't, maybe it's not so horrible, because there's always a time for you to explore and the time to prioritize that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And so I see that Jackie, your son, has been a big part of your writing career.
He really has.
Tell us Jackie, how did you become a writer?
I don't know. We just started by putting a bunch of notes about me in a book, and you came up with the idea of, hey, let's turn this into a book. And so the idea just catched on, and eventually we came up with a book, and yeah, and the rest is history.
And the purpose of your writing was to get to know yourself better, right?
Yeah.
And how do you do that with it's your book titled Jackie's Journal? Mm-hmm. It's about your life, but also what makes you very special?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, pretty much everything that makes me special, any of my stuff. It's just basically a diary that's published.
Yeah. And I think the beginning of that was really just trying to understand his autism and the things that happened in your daily life he'd come home from school and something would have happened, something would appear, and he couldn't really understand, like, why did this happen? And so we would write down, okay, here's what happened. And then we could go back and say, well, maybe this is why. Maybe your friend didn't understand what you meant when you said a certain thing. Yes. And there are chapters in his book like that talk about, well, a friend didn't want to be my friend anymore because of something I did, and I don't understand that. And so for Jackie, it was a way to really understand things like that better and understand his autism and what was his autism and what was just 9-year-old kid.
Yes, normal.
So, yeah.
Break up and make up situation.
That's exactly right. I
Yeah.
mean, it's true, especially in elementary school. That's true.
Well, I have heard from other parents with children with special needs that writing can be a therapeutic way and helpful way to be self-aware and to
Sure.
come to terms with that. Can you tell me what you have for breakfast?
That's funny because it's one of the chapters is all
Can
about
you tell
your
me
food.
about your breakfast?
I don't, this is kind of part of one of my chapters. It's that it starts out with I eat worms for breakfast, and it's that I don't eat like other kids, although I'm very skinny. I don't eat like other kids do because I just don't like the foods that other kids like. Like when I go to a birthday party, I don't like to eat the pizza.
Yeah,
So,
or mac and cheese, you
Yeah.
say, right? Well, what do you like?
I like peanut butter and bread. That's pretty much anything healthy. I don't like vegetables. I don't like fruits. I don't like, all that stuff. I don't like meat. I do like protein. I do like grains. I don't know. I
And
do
it
like
starts
dairy.
with, because there might be some sensory issues, even since he was small too, right?
yeah.
It wasn't just
when
he
he was
became
when
middle
he
school,
was
yeah.
before he was diagnosed with autism, he was diagnosed with sensory integration
Yes.
disorder, and it was all about loud noises and loud and strong smells. We couldn't go to restaurants, we couldn't go to parades, and
Maybe texture on clothes?
texture on clothes was really difficult, but the food issue was really bad because his sense of taste is so strong.
Powerful, yeah.
It's so powerful. And at first, it wasn't such a big deal, but as he gets older, it's really hard to go to a birthday party and
Yes.
feel like you can't sit there with your friends and have pizza. I mean, he's kind of at the point where people get him. They know who he
Yes,
is,
yes.
and they understand. But in younger days, we'd go to these parties and kids would be like, "Why aren't you eating the pizza? Why aren't you eating the pizza?" And it was, did you feel a little embarrassed? I mean,
yeah. In
The
fact,
strong smells
Yeah.
can be very hard to explain.
yeah, it's hard to say, well, it just tastes bad to me. Like, what do you say to another kid that's 9 years old?
Right.
In fact, the reason why I used to like cheese, remember?
You did eat cheese.
I used to eat all those foods as a kid.
Yeah, you did.
It's just one fateful day I choked on a cookie.
He did choke on a cookie when he was younger.
And that's, the rest is history.
He did. He did choke on a cookie.
And that's how it all began.
Well, you came from Henking Hoffman,
Yep.
right? And Diane, you have a book, Snub Club,
Snub
that is
Club.
loosely based on Principal Wally, Principal Walters.
He's in the book, yes. It's loosely based on the school because I wrote it when Jackie was there.
Yeah.
And it's really a book about two boys who have autism. But instead of focusing on the things that are hard, they focus on the abilities that they have. So Jackie,
Superheroes.
they are. They're superheroes. They solve crimes in the school.
Well, they only solve one.
They solve one major crime. But Jackie has a photographic memory for certain things. And so that was used in the book as his superpower. He was the brains. And then his friend Cameron is really strong. He's a really tough kid, and so he was the muscle. And so together they solved a mystery in the school. And the book is really to bring out words like autism and ADHD into classrooms at a really young age. It's always been really important to me as a mom with a special needs child to have those words be known to children young, just like peanut allergy.
Yes.
You know, if somebody says, "Oh, I have a peanut allergy," and you're in 4th grade, you pretty much know
Yes, you
what
understand.
you need to do.
Yes, how to be sensitive about that.
Sure, and-
without maybe blame or
Right.
or accusations or anything. So it's
Sure.
yeah, it's a very
And that's the same.
accepting. Yeah, learn to accept at a younger age.
Yeah, and that's what we want. We want a child to be able to say to a peer, I have autism, and that peer to maybe not know exactly what that means, but say, oh, so maybe you have a hard time making friends, and
Yes.
kind of understand a
Yeah,
little bit
maybe
about
we don't have
that.
to push you to eat pizza.
Yeah, exactly.
Pepperoni on it.
Exactly, right? Don't you think?
Yeah.
Well, how nice to commemorate the well, I guess that's 3rd to 5th grade with a book.
Yeah, it was
About
really
that time.
fun. It was fun, and it was great because I could do all the teachers based off of the teachers that were there. So that was really fun
Yes.
to do. Yeah.
Do you miss Hoffman? No, you're in Springman, right?
Yeah, I like Springman better
Ooh.
because I get to travel to more than one class, and I get to do all that fun stuff that I can't do at Hoffman. So that's why. Yeah, it's one of the major reasons why.
We were concerned about that, moving into the next level. About
I actually liked it.
yeah, you did great. He did great. Honestly, there was a concern that might be an issue, but it's fine.
Well, autism is also a huge spectrum, right?
Yeah.
How do you feel, Jackie, have to fit in that, or is he in sports, or does that in any way hinder at all? Because sometimes they do, sometimes it doesn't.
That's
sometimes
right.
it helps, sometimes it doesn't
That's
help
right.
to
And
be
that's-
part of sports, right?
Yeah, and that's really kind of the tough thing about the spectrum.
Isn't it?
They no longer have they used to have an umbrella that classified the different spectrum disorders, and now basically all of autism spectrum is in the group of autism. It's because it's such a diverse thing, and every kid is so different on the spectrum. For Jackie, it was really hard doing sports when he was younger. Physical contact was really tough, so in soccer, it was really hard to kind of get in the game and, kind of bump up against the kids. But now he does do basketball, and he's really good. I mean, he's good at being aggressive, more aggressive
Focused.
Yeah.
and focused. But in his younger years, just about every sport kind of, it didn't. We try, and then it just wouldn't. I mean, baseball, he'd stand in the outfield and just kind of look at his feet. Do you remember?
Well, that can
So-
be a lot of children.
It
too.
can, it
Yes,
can.
and then we just bump around, like for my kids, we're bumping around to find the right sports for
Yeah.
us. And
Yeah, so
Yeah.
we're lucky. We found basketball, but his thing is really chess. He likes chess and cars. Everything cars. I have a feeling the next book, there's going to be a lot about cars in it.
racing or building them? What do you mean cars? You have to tell me more, Jackie.
I like racing them. I mean, I guess it's fun. I guess I don't know how to build one because it's like hard to build an actual car out of scrap. But I mean, I guess I can learn that maybe in college.
Well,
or something like that.
there's smaller, there's go-karts, there's...
I mean, I like racing go-karts. Yes, those that's fun. That is really fun.
He collects Hot Wheels cars, and
Yeah.
so that's a big, big hobby, Hot Wheels cars. You find with kids with autism, they have one or two real serious things they like.
And
It's hard
that's
to branch out.
that's
so.
kind of good too.
It is good. I mean, Hot Wheels cars, I mean, you can't go wrong with that, so
Right.
that's good.
Basically, I loved anything with wheels when I was younger. Anything with wheels. In fact, I had a
Moving.
stroller. Remember the stroller? I had a stroller.
That was a car?
Well,
the car stroller?
I used to push it.
Yeah.
All the time. I used to push it instead of sitting in. I just push it because I didn't want to miss the action. I wanted to do the action.
And Diane, you tell me about Red. I've seen this program at Henking at Hoffman, and it's respect every difference, right?
Yes. So before Red Day existed, I was always concerned about getting people to understand autism and getting kids to be nice. And so that's why at a very early age, Jackie's journal came out and we took it into the classroom. And I thought, give kids a chance to be kind. Give them all the information. Give them a chance to be kind. And what happens is that works for a while, and then kids kind of go back into their old ways. And I thought, maybe this isn't about autism. Maybe this is about teaching kindness across the board.
Which is very much part of our character counts program, isn't
It
it?
is. It's very much like that.
Very consistent, with
Yeah.
trustworthiness and
All
respectfulness.
of those things that we hold, important. And so Red Day is Respect Each Difference, and what it is it's a campaign of kindness that goes into schools and talks about diversity, but celebrates the things that make us different and talks about how we can respect those things in each other. And so we had a really good response in District 34, and they continue to do a fabulous job. I mean, the things that they do for Red Day is just amazing. There's essay contests. They had a balloon launch one year.
I did.
Yeah, it wasn't at your school. But other schools now are kind of catching on to that and bringing that idea of kindness and
you
diversity.
started this?
I started it with a
how
friend
many
of
years
mine
ago?
2 years ago.
I'm so surprised. I didn't even know you see, and I know you're very active, in the community. I just didn't know it was yours. It's wonderful. Tell me a little bit more. You say, what's your friend of yours?
My friend Carrie and I.
Carrie Mercer?
Yeah.
Okay, I know. She's a neighbor. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And
so
she is wonderful.
She's
a pastor.
She's a pastor and a youth minister, and she's really the brains behind it all. She really is.
I'm gonna check if she's written a book. I'm sure she.
Yeah, I know.
has.
See, she really has done so much of that work, and then I've done my own work with kids through just my talking about my own issues. I've gone into schools and talked to kids before, but so Red Day is really on the website. You go in and you can get the campaign. It's there. It's available for every school. You fill out a short form. You get sent all the materials, which are basically the ideas of things you can do all week to celebrate that day. Mm-hmm. And then at the end, what happens is you sign a banner. You have a banner. Everybody takes the pledge to be a kinder person, and you sign the banner saying that you're taking that pledge. And I go in and speak sometimes, not all the time, but that's a part of it too, to kind of get kids motivated and tell my personal story, because that really seems to resonate with them, because there's a lot of kids, who do have learning disabilities in schools, and it helps for them to see an adult come out of that and say, look, it's okay. Yes. Everything's good.
Yes.
So it's a good thing.
We believe in late bloomers. I don't know.
True.
We don't want to say
I
it.
do feel that way.
Yeah.
I really do feel that way. So it's good.
So do you know about the Friendship Club program through the Glenview Library?
Yeah, we have done that.
Have you been part of that?
We have
I've
done
done that once.
Yeah, we did it once, but I think it's really a great thing they have, honestly. They have a lot of volunteers. I was shocked at how many volunteers they had come forward to be like the buddy.
Right, we just signed my son up for that in the past year, and he's really enjoyed it. He goes and talks. Yeah, and he always makes a friend.
Yeah, and so Jackie's done that. You've been the buddy companion, I guess is what it would become. What did you do? Do you remember what you did?
Board games
Yeah, we did scavenger hunts, all that kind of stuff, and
art projects or
crafts, stuff like that, all that kind of stuff.
It's a really good thing for kids who are socially awkward a little bit to kind of have like a chance to communicate with somebody and not have to feel, like they're embarrassed or afraid.
And they get some social contact that feels normal, They don't feel like, nobody knows I'm here or something,
no, it's a great environment to do it in the Glenview Library, so they're so good at that.
So you've been there for a couple of years, or you did it a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
I think you did it last year.
I remember I was doing something with crafts and a scavenger hunt. That's how pretty much everything. It was like one day, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was one day, and it was fun. Yeah.
So tell me more about finding time to write, and how are you working on more books right now?
We are. We're both of us working on books. It's been hard to find time with Red Day because I've really wanted to push myself into Red Day and really give it 100%. But Jackie and I are now we're working on books. My new book is called I'm Just a Mom, and his new book is called I'm Just a Kid, and they'll be companion books. And it's really just our journey, what we've been through in the last 13 years. I've spoken at a lot of different places for educators, for parents, and every time someone comes up to me and says, you should really write about what you're talking about here. And so finally I thought, well, you know, this would be a really good chance to do it together where he can say, look, I'm 13 now. Here's all the things that I've been through. Here's what I can tell you about autism from my perspective. And then to help parents understand that they're not alone in this, kind of let them know,
yes.
because there is a feeling of being judged all the time.
Right, and I know that some parents feel very puzzled by all the adjustments, or they think they don't understand, right? It's hard to accept certain things
It is.
as that's part of autism, or they're being, or my child's very stubborn, let's say, you know, and that's
I
not.
know.
It's very hard to for parents to understand that.
It is, and it's. I think there's a fear of really coming out with it.
Yeah, and trusting your child.
And trusting other people to understand you.
Yes.
Because there's, you know, there are people who their kids are diagnosed and they don't ever want to talk about it. And I kind of, and I respect that, I really do, but that's not who we are. We're very vocal about it because I just feel like the more people can know and learn and have information, the more understanding they're going to be when they're in those situations with kids with special needs.
Yes.
So, and 1 in 66 kids now is diagnosed with a spectrum disorder. So, I mean, chances are you're going to know somebody. So,
Yes, yes, and I think that's the same with my. I have some younger friends who talk about in the workplace that they will meet someone with ADHD or autism, and you work next to someone
yeah,
to understand that.
it's true. And I just think there needs to be a real understanding of that, because I know that there are still parents out there that feel judged by people around them and are afraid to talk about it. And, you know, I think that we should all be comfortable in who we are and be able to express who we are, regardless of what our issues are in life. So, don't you agree?
Yes.
So do you go make talks with your mother as well? Not yet. Not yet. I think it's coming.
I mean, I've done a couple, yeah.
okay.
But usually I have school, and my mom makes me do that. So.
He did a really good talk. We talked to a group of educators a couple years ago, and he did a book signing with them. And it was all special ed teachers, and it was a pretty big group. And he got up and he really talked about his feelings and why he wrote the book, and it really touched a lot of those teachers, because they don't see that very often. They don't see kids like Jackie who really celebrate who they are and talk openly about it. So that was a really good talk, I thought.
That was District 34? Or?
No, that was in Skokie. I don't remember. It wasn't a district. It was just a group of educators. I don't remember the name of the group. But and then he did a couple talk. He did one major talk at Barnes & Noble.
Yeah.
Where we had a group come out. And most of our talks we do, teachers can get credit for if they come and listen. And so that was one of those. And that was good. We had a lot of questions at the end, which is really good to see that people
Are thinking about it.
They are.
Yeah.
They're thinking about it. They want to know. And so that was really good.
And they might just very hard to have someone who's open and comfortable, that they feel open and comfortable enough to ask. Right? So,
Yeah.
so you are making a big difference out there for everyone.
You are, and it's a good thing. I mean, we have a lot of parents that come that, you know, I had one guy come who had an older child that was 21 who had autism and read Jackie's book, and the grandmother came up to me and said that when the boy read Jackie's book, he was really sad. And I said, well, why was he sad? And he said, well, because he saw this child who was like 9, who had the same diagnosis and who could do all these really great things, and that he felt angry because he didn't have a photographic memory. He couldn't do all of these things. And so she said, you know, I don't know if that book's good for kids who are severely autistic. And I said, well, tell me a little bit about your grandson. And he said, well, he's 21, he's never been to college, he has a job bagging groceries, and he helps me out in the house and does laundry and all this stuff, all these things that he was doing. And I said, that's your celebration right there. Tell him, I don't know many 21-year-old kids who are going to stay at home and take care of their grandmother. So there's a lot that comes from this conversation about what we celebrate, you know, as far as autism and even other things.
Yes. And you drew some pictures for your book too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I did a drew.
All the artwork is his.
Yes.
There's one of a bully in there that's pretty funny.
Yeah, it's more like a robot than a bully. But I have to give her credit for drawing the rat-faced dog.
I did draw the rat-faced dog.
I have to give her credit.
Well, I want to thank you both for being here with us today. Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you.
And thank you, Diane.
Sure, thank you.
And thank you for joining us on Off the Shelf. We'll see you next time. I'm your host, Yvonne Wolf.